No.
She said, computer froze, getting it together.
All right. Looks like we are live now. If you're joining us on YouTube Live or on Facebook, we want to encourage you to go ahead and say hello in the comments. If you're on Facebook, it should just be the comments. If you're on YouTube watching the live broadcast there's comments below, but then on the side, there's a chat bar. And if you write your comments in the chat bar, we can see that and respond to your comments. Great. We are going to wait a couple of minutes to make sure we give everybody a chance to connect and be here before we really get started. It's good to see some of these comments rolling in. All right. We've got a lot of them. Looks like Julian Garcia. Welcome, Julian. Yes, we've been seeing you guys too. Excellent. I see Carrot Pogue there, the tuba. I see a clarinet player over here. I don't know how to pronounce that. Is that Nevaeh Phillips? You'll learn. Natalie Salinas. Very good.
Got some drummers.
Very good. Well, we are so excited that you guys are joining us tonight. This is a very strange way to do this meeting, but we are at least grateful for the technology being available so that we can talk to you about what band is going to be like when your child gets to high school. So we're going to start with introducing the people that you see here on your screen. My name is Derek Doyle. I'm the director of bands at Chisholm Trail High School. I have been teaching music for most of my life. I've been teaching in Eagle Mountain, Saginaw for the last 14 years. Taught at Saginaw High School for 6 years, and I've been teaching at Chisholm Trail for the last 8 years since it opened in 2012. And I am super excited to look forward to the next year. I know that right now everything is very different than what we expected this spring semester to look like, but we are hopeful that by the beginning of this next school year that things will be a lot more normal and that we'll be able to get back to what we're used to. I'm going to send it over next to Miss Emily Rivers.
Hi, I'm Emily Rivers. I am the Associate Band Director at Chisholm Trail High School. This is actually my third year of teaching, but my first year at Chisholm Trail, and it's been just one of the best things ever. I love Chisholm Trail. It's just been like a dream to me. And I'm a clarinet player, and I do woodwind things. So, yeah. All right, Ryan Miller.
Hi, I'm Ryan Miller. I am finishing up my 5th year of teaching and my first year at Chisholm Trail. I am in charge of the percussion stuff, so everything drums here and at Marine Creek and at Wilkie. I think Molly's next.
Hi, I'm Molly. I teach the color guard. I've been at Chisholm for 7 years. Is that right? 8? Goodness, Mr. Doyle. 8 years. And Mr. Doyle and I have been in EMS ISD for
14
years.
Yes. Yes, Molly and I have been teaching together for basically our entire careers. We've been teaching together since 2006 at Saginaw and now here at Chisholm Trail. So before we move on any farther, I just want to tell you that the reason that we are here, the reason the 4 of us are doing the job that we do is because we love band. We absolutely love not just music, but we love being around your children and helping them learn and seeing them grow and seeing them develop new skills and getting to showcase those skills in the variety of ways that we do things in our band program. I want to encourage you, if you have any questions throughout what we talk about tonight, just go ahead and as soon as you can think of the question, just put it there in the chat, and we're going to circle back to questions later in the presentation, and hopefully get to answer as many of those questions as possible. But no need to wait. You just ask the question right away. Right now, I'm going to move into doing a presentation just about some of the information that you're going to need to know. All right. Ranger Regiment 101. Okay. Give me just a moment here. All right. Okay, so we just talked about who your directors are. This next slide is one of the most important things that we're going to talk about. I really encourage you to do this stuff tonight, right now. So Remind 101, Facebook, Twitter, we use all of these things for different ways of communicating to you. I would encourage you right now, we are starting to use, again, our larger Ranger Regiment Remind group. Many of you are probably already familiar with Remind, but if you will, with your phone, text that code @CT Regiment to the number 81010. Then that will add you to the Ranger Regiment Remind group. And we use that to send out information that the full band needs to know. Once your child is in a concert band group or percussion or color guard, and they're in one of those groups, then they also should join the individual Remind groups for those sections of the band. But for right now, just having them join that larger group will work just great. There's also a Facebook page. There's the link is right there. And I will, if you're trying to write all this stuff down, I'm going to be posting this entire thing later, this entire presentation, and you can write all that stuff down later. So you don't necessarily need to write all of that down. But I do encourage you to go ahead and join Ranger Regiment Remind group right now. I do see several people doing that right now, which is great. Thank you so much for doing that. And what this does is that allows us to communicate to you the information that we need to get out to you. And you'll see some of that information we'll talk about tonight. So let's talk about concert band auditions. Your child should have already received some information about the auditions, but this is just a list of the 4 concert groups that we have here at Chisholm Trail High School. At your middle school, your child's middle school, you probably have 2 or possibly 3 groups. We have 4 at the high school because there's a lot of students in the band program. These are listed in order: the wind ensemble, symphonic band, concert band, and concert winds. And your child, if they play a wind instrument, brass or woodwinds, they will be placed into that group, and that will determine what class period they have band. The first 3 groups all compete at UIL concert and sight reading contests, and our goal is to, in the future, move to where that 4th group also competes at UIL. Auditions this year are online. Students should have received information from their middle school band directors, but if you have any questions or if you did not get that information, please email me. My email's right there on the slide. Those auditions are due May 15th. And they're due in different ways depending on which school you go to, because we're working with those middle school bands and how they already are doing things. Drumline auditions. Mr. Miller, would you like to talk about drumline auditions?
Yes. So we've already started doing some weekly master classes to kind of work towards this. Last week, I sent out some audition information. There was a letter, there's an intent form, and then there was some information on what the students needed to play to audition. So the intent forms are due tomorrow, ideally, and they can turn those in any way they can get them to me: Canvas, email, Remind, any way is fine. And then they need to turn in their audition videos by May 20th. That's a Wednesday. So the way that it'll work is everybody will make the group, but we'll split up the kids into 2 different groups. So there'll be the battery, or the people who march on the field. And then the larger group will probably be the front ensemble, with the marimbas and vibraphones and everything electronics. That's probably where most of the students will end up. And then there's my contact info right below. So, of course, if you have any questions, feel free to email me.
All right, Ms. Owen?
We already had 1 round of auditions, but we are having another one. The banner is in front of my face, and that's 100% fine. But if you have any questions, really, you just need to fill out the form. And I have I have a link for that. If you email me, I will send that over to you, and then that way I can get all of your information.
Very good. So let's talk about scheduling. How does your child get their schedule? Hopefully you've received some kind of information about this already. If you have questions about arena scheduling that are not specific to band, obviously you're going to want to talk to the counselors. But arena scheduling is a process by which your child will select their course schedule down to the class period they're taking each course. Now for band, obviously kids don't choose their band class period, so there's a little bit of restriction there. So for freshmen, they will be choosing their classes on May 21st. When you go to do your arena scheduling, and if you've already heard, okay, my child is going to be in the symphonic band, and that's supposed to meet second period. But when you go to do your arena scheduling, you don't see that. It's listed as third period. Don't worry about that. We work with the counselors to make sure that those schedules get adjusted, that they get changed so that your child is placed in the correct band class. That's one of the things that we will make sure happens. All right, so we're going to get right to registration and fees. This is something that I know that many of you are certainly wondering about. So band registration will be online for the 2020-2021 school year. There's two parts to that online registration. The first part is an online form that is set up by our band boosters. This is where you give us your contact information, order the appropriate merchandise, and begin paying band fees. So by merchandise, I mean things like your show shirt and compression shirt and shorts that you wear, that each student wears underneath the band uniform. A duffel bag, there's a water jug holder, etc. There's things that every student buys in addition to the band fees, and all of that goes through the band booster organization, and there will be an online form set up there that we will send out information later. The second part is rank 1 registration. Many of you probably already are familiar with rank 1 if your child has been involved in athletics in middle school. Then you probably have already had to go in rank 1 and fill out medical history forms and get a physical and fill out other forms like an 8-hour rule acknowledgement, drug testing, consent form, these kind of things. So that's another part that will also be necessary. The band booster registration form should be available on Monday. We will put out a link on Monday when it is available through Twitter, Facebook, Remind, and also email. I will send that link to the middle school directors and ask them to send out that information to all their 8th grade students. We ask you to please complete that registration as soon as possible and by May 15th at the latest. If you have any trouble completing that, obviously just send me an email and we will help you as much as I can. We're going to send instructions for the rank 1 sign up also through those same communication portals, Twitter, Facebook, Remind, and email, once we've been notified that it's available. The people at rank 1 are working on making some changes to the medical history form, so that's why that's not available yet. Physicals for band members. So you may know this and you may not, but starting last year, all students participating in marching band are now required to obtain a physical exam, just like the physical exams that have been required from our student athletes for years. If your student is in band and athletics, they only have to get a physical once, but you'll need to make a copy of that form and submit it to both band directors and athletic trainers. As we mentioned earlier, the required medical history form and the physical form will be available through rank 1, and we'll let you know when those forms are ready. Moving on, band fees. Okay, I'm going to just let you look at that for just a second. So band fees per student. This is for every student in the band, regardless of whether they're freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior. That's $525. And then new student purchases. These are things that your student needs in order to participate in band, like the compression gear that we talked about that goes underneath the uniform, etc. You put those two together, that's $730. We do have payment plans starting now through the beginning of November. There's a deposit of $150 due when you register. If you pay in full up front, there is a discount as well. So why does it cost that much money to be in band? I'm going to move through this fairly quickly, but the biggest single purchase, biggest single cost is food. So students will be fed at summer band. We feed students lunch at summer band. We feed students dinner when we have a football game. We feed students typically lunch and dinner when we have a marching contest. Basically, anytime we keep your child through a mealtime, we will be feeding them. Okay, and so that's where a good chunk of that money and your fees goes to. Contest fees, so fees that we pay to participate in the contests. We have a very large equipment truck or equipment trailer that you've probably seen if you've been on our campus. And to keep that thing in good condition and to rent a truck to haul it around to games and contests costs quite a lot of money. We pay for half of our color guard specialist salary. We also pay for instruction in color guard and other areas, summer band sectional instruction, marching band tech payments. These are people that we bring out an additional instruction so that there are more people working with your child, so that it's not just the 4 of us with a group of over 200 students. The marching band show costs money to write. The concept, the music, the drill, etc. Finally, these are some other items that go along with, or that your student will receive. A show shirt, a luggage tag. Every student gets a luggage tag. We also provide private lesson scholarship for people who need that. We pay for a student leadership camp. That's a total of $131,200. With 200 students in the program, without any fundraising, that'd be about $656 per student, plus the individual items that we talked about earlier that equal that $205. So we also do fundraise. So we do, our goal this year is to be able to fundraise $30,000. With a year of successful fundraising, we'll be able to fund what the band needs right now and also keep fees low in years to come. That's why we need everybody involved in fundraising. I want to pause for just a moment and look in our comments and see if we have any questions yet. I don't see anything.
It doesn't look like there are any yet, Mr. Doyle.
Okay, great. We're going to move on to our next section. And this is where things start to get a little different than what we've done in the past, just because there's obviously a lot of uncertainty for the summer right now. We typically have started fitness camps, which are where we give your kids the experience of being outside and working to get in better shape in that summer heat. We usually start those in June. We're not going to be doing that in June this year. The district has said there will not be any summer camps through the end of June, and we'll be following that directive for our voluntary summer work as well. And we're in wait and see mode with regard to July. We will cross that bridge when we come to it. And as far as sectionals go, we've had, and keep in mind, this is all voluntary. This is not mandatory stuff, but we have had sectionals typically in July in the last couple of years. And we hope to be able to do that again this year. But again, we have to wait and see on that. When the district makes some decisions, we will let you know. Mr. Miller, you want to talk about percussion?
Sure. So we have a little pre-band camp for the percussionists. It starts July 20th. You guys see the dates right there, and goes to the 29th. It basically just gets us ready for band camp. It's for all percussion students, so whether they make the battery or the front ensemble. And yeah, we just use it to get prepared for band camp.
Is that one?
Pretty much the same thing. We like to get a head start on all of our stuff. Usually all 3 schools have color guard camp together because we all like to train the same way. So we use that as a way to teach all of our fundamentals and everything that we need to get ready for the season. And that is also mandatory.
Great. So if you're in one of those 2 groups, you have some mandatory things starting on July 20th. The rest of the band, the first mandatory date is Thursday, July 30th. Okay, Thursday, July 30th. So we will have, if you've looked at the school calendar for next year, you may have noticed that school starts pretty early this next year. Our first day of school is, I believe, August 18th. So we're getting an early start on summer band, and we also are going to use a couple of Saturdays in that time. So Thursday, July 30th through Saturday, August 1st is 8 to 5. Monday, August 3rd through Saturday, August 8th, because we will have picture day on that Saturday, August 8th. Although now that I think about it, that picture day may turn into a rehearsal day instead. And the reason that is because normally in the end of April, beginning of May, we're doing our band registration, and that normally includes uniform fitting. So by the time summer band rolls around, kids already have their uniforms fitted. Well, this year, that's likely not happening until the end of July, beginning of August. So that picture day may have to get pushed back a little bit. So that Saturday, August 8th may turn into a rehearsal day, but I would keep that on your calendar. And then Monday, August 10th through Thursday, August 13th, those rehearsals will almost certainly be just 5 to 9 p.m. As of right now, that's what's on our calendar, because those are days that we as directors have professional development during the day, and so we have our rehearsals at night. The end of that week, Friday, August 14th, we will have a shorter rehearsal followed by parent night. And parent night is when we ask you guys to come out as parents and see what we've learned so far of our marching band show for this year. Summer band camp is required for all CTHS band members. That's very important to remember. Ordinarily, I would say try to not schedule any trips during that time, but I'm not sure if anybody's scheduling any trips anywhere right now. Varsity and JV. We don't always use this language, but I just want to say a few things about making the show and not making the competition show. First of all, the most important thing to remember is everyone is a participating member of the CTHS Ranger Regiment. So sometimes we get questions about, what if my son doesn't make the band? Well, if your son auditions in the spring for a concert band and your son signs up for band as a class and all of that, or your daughter, your child will be in band. The question is whether your child is going to be in the competition show. And we'll talk more about that in a moment. So everyone's going to learn. Everyone's going to get instruction on marching and drill fundamentals. Everyone's going to get instruction on their instrument. Everyone's going to participate in the stands at all football games and pep rallies. Here's where the differences start. The varsity group competes at marching contests and performs at all halftime performances for football games. And the varsity spots are limited and open to audition only during the first few days of summer band. So when we come back at the end of July, we start learning, we start working on marching together, and then we have some auditions to see essentially what your child can do when it comes to marching. And we'll talk more about that in just a moment. So the JV students, those who are not in the varsity competition show, will participate in some halftime performances, and some members may be utilized for props, equipment help, or any other position within the varsity group that's deemed necessary for that year. Participation and attendance will factor into selecting individuals to participate with the varsity group. JV members may be assigned a separate rehearsal schedule based on the responsibilities they are assigned. That basically means that we may say to your child, if your child doesn't make the varsity show, we may say, you don't necessarily need to be here for all of these other rehearsals, but we need you to be here for this day's rehearsal and this day's rehearsal instead. Eligibility, attendance, preparation, etc. All of these things can affect JV and varsity status. So let's talk about football games. Football games are held virtually every week. We do have a bye week every year, but virtually every week from the end of August through the beginning of November. Our last game this year is November 6th. But you can pretty much count on there being a game virtually every Friday. And, I believe we have one Thursday game this year as well. Football games are required. Our primary focus is to provide support for our team and entertainment for our fans, and also, obviously, to look and sound great while we do that. We will be involved during all 4 quarters of the game. We'll either march at halftime or at post-game at all of our games. And all students, when we're done, all students are dismissed together from the band hall after everything is put away and accounted for. Yes, this sometimes takes a while, but we ask for your patience because it makes it a lot quicker the next time we need to get all that stuff out. Moving along, marching contests. So late September through early November is marching contest season, okay? And I'm going to give you the full schedule of contests we're going to this year in just a moment. But this is pretty much the same every year. October and usually maybe 1 week before and 1 week after October is full of marching contests. Attendance is required for all CTHS band members. Parents are encouraged to attend all contest performances and to cheer on all the other bands. We want to be good sports and be encouraging for all the other students that are out there working really hard in the Texas heat every year. This is our schedule for contests this year. Okay, so that first one is just a drumline contest. That's drumline only. And then September 26th, preview of champions in Mansfield. October 3rd, Birdville. October 10th, we do not have a contest on Saturday, October 10th. We're taking that Saturday off because we do have 2 contests the week after that. October 13th is the tentative date for UIL Region Marching Contest, and that's at Saginaw High School this year. October 17th, we're going to a Bands of America Regional at McLean Stadium, that's at Baylor, in Waco. And October 24th is the UIL 6A area marching contest. I'm sure most of you know this already, but we are going from 5A to 6A this year. And so that's why this year is another state year for us. And then we have another drumline contest at the end of the year, November 7th. Again, this last one, that's Lone Star Classic, is drumline only. So the first one and the last one on the list are drumline only. The rest of them are everybody. Eligibility. I'm sure most of you already know this, but let's talk about how it applies to band. No pass, no play applies to any competitive activity all year. That includes marching band, all region auditions, solo and ensemble, winter guard, etc. It does not apply to concerts that we hold on our campus, like our Christmas concert, our spring concert, etc., nor does it apply to UIL region concert and sight reading. That is seen as an assessment and not a competition. At the beginning of the year, everyone who's passed the previous grade is eligible until the end of the first 6 weeks. So if your child is in ninth grade for the first time, they are eligible the first 6 weeks no matter what. Then students have to pass all classes the first 6 weeks in order to participate with the marching band at contests in October. That first 6 weeks always ends right before October, right before our marching contests begin. So it's really important to make sure that you hit the ground running on your classes so you can be eligible for those contests. Attendance. This slide should have been really short, a lot shorter. I should have just put be there. But good attendance is necessary for the band to be successful. Rehearsals will start at the indicated time. If we have rehearsal at 7, we are going to start at 7. So students need to be there before 7 in order to get their equipment and be where they're supposed to be ready to go. If you have an absence, that needs to be communicated in advance when possible. We understand that sometimes you're just going to wake up sick and that happens. And then we just ask you to let us know when that happens. These are some examples of excused and unexcused absences. I'm not going to read all of those, but I'll let you look at that. Please do plan ahead for appointments. Extensive dental work. The reason we bring up dental work is because it will definitely affect your child's playing, and it's usually best to try and work around the busiest parts of the schedule, of the band schedule for doing that. And since I do mention SAT and ACT here, you're going to want to avoid the October 3rd SAT date and the October 24th ACT date if your kid is going to try and take those tests as a freshman. Moving on, equipment. Not going to talk much about this, but I just want to say for most instruments, it is best to have 2 instruments, one for marching and one for concert, if you can. If your child plays a school-owned instrument like euphonium or French horn, your kid is going to have an instrument for both seasons, for both marching and concert seasons, because there's a different version of each of those. And then detailed equipment recommendations are found in the band handbook. If you'll notice in the chat on both Facebook and YouTube, I put a link to our band handbook. You click on that, it should take you to the CTHS band website, and the full handbook's there. It's got a ton of information there. Private lessons, I'll let you read all the rest of this on your own, but I just want to say we highly encourage private lessons. the two best things that your child can do to improve on their instrument are to practice regularly and to take private lessons. Your child doesn't have to practice 2 hours a day to get good at what they do. They need to practice regularly, have a regular schedule to practice a little bit every day. And taking private lessons is a great way to improve because you get one-on-one professional instruction and guidance on how to make that practice time really effective. So now that I bring up this slide for band boosters, I'm going to bring in Melissa Stearman, who is our band booster president, and I'm going to let her talk to you guys for a little bit about the band boosters, what they do, how important they are to our band program.
Good evening. So first off, let's answer that question is who are we? We are parents. We are parents of children in band. So if your child is in band, we need your help. We need your help with everything. Everything. I love, someone said, the band doesn't move without us. And that is the best way to describe it. As parents, we load the truck, we unload the truck, we put equipment on and off the field, we're moving instruments on and off the field. So we are behind the scenes constantly moving. That's who we are. If you see us, you see parents moving something, jump in, ask how you can help. That's the best way to get involved. We send a lot of communication, but the best way to get to know us is just to walk up and grab a piece of equipment and start rolling it. We're much faster. It takes us about 25 minutes to unload the truck. It still takes about 45 minutes to load the truck. And it just takes time. So we definitely need help. Then we also work closely with the band directors. So constant communication with our leaders. What can we do to help? How can we assist you? What can I do to lighten your load? As you can see, we have 4 wonderful leaders, but they can't do it all by themselves. So that's where we come in. We are the people who run registration. So we take all of that information, compile it into a spreadsheet, and start ordering. We order from about 6-7 different vendors, and we have to put all of that into usable information that we can get things ordered and try to get it back as quickly as we can. Fundraising. So Mr. Dole mentioned that $30,000 that we need to fundraise. That's us. So we don't ask our directors to do that piece. We do that with them. But that takes parents' involvement. Of course, I would love to write a $30,000 check to the band, but that's not a reality. So that's where we come in. And if we all can give a little bit, we can do great things. And once you step into this band world with us, you will see how great our leadership is, how great our students are, how wonderful our parents are. And you'll just, we're kind of like little magnets. You'll want to come hang with us. We're pretty fun. How do you get involved? Walk up, ask, email, ask questions, keep asking questions. Bring your ideas. Come to our booster meetings. Our booster meetings are held on the first, usually we do have some conflicts. Usually it's the first Tuesday of the month, pardon. Sometimes it gets moved to Monday, just depending on schedules and different various events that are going on. Come to our meetings, come give your input. We cover a lot of information. We also feed the kids. We're the ones who are feeding them at the competitions at summer band camp. We have some parents who can be there during the day. We have some parents who can't be there on the weekends. So there's always a little spot that we can use some different help. We're also the ones to fit the kids for the uniforms, get the uniforms washed and pressed. So there's so many opportunities to help. I think that's kind of covered it. One of the things that we do need to do, we've been a little bit on hold just because of our current situation. We will be voting for a new treasurer. So we have Parrish is our current treasurer. She will be leaving us. Her daughter will be graduating. So we need to bring on a new treasurer. And then we also need a new sales position. That's someone who sets up our swag booth at the football games. That position is open. And I think those are all of our current open positions. We have, we always need help with equipment crews. So Brent has been our equipment crew person. I think he will be passing that hat on to a new person. And but that's one of our biggest things that we can use help with. So that's who we are.
Great. Thank you so much, Melissa. I want to say, I want to add on to what she said because she mentioned it, but we are unable to do what we do without booster help, without parent assistance. The band is a huge group. Last year we had about 220 students, and we expect that number to be pretty similar for the coming year. And it is a huge undertaking getting us from point A to point B, getting everyone fed, uniforms taken care of, all of those things. Much less the asking kids to march and play their instruments and all of those things, but just all the logistics that the band boosters help with, we just wouldn't be able to do what we do without it. And we really encourage you to just find a place to plug in. You may think, well, I'm not an out front in front of people kind of person. It doesn't matter. There's a place for you in volunteering with the band, and we will help you find that place. So again, thank you, Melissa. I really appreciate that. So let me move on to our next slide, which I think is just this. What questions do you have for us? We're going to start with the questions that are already on the screen. Let's see. I know I saw one.
I have some written down, Mr. Doyle.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. The first one that was asked is for Mr. Miller, I believe. It is CT Percussion competing at WGI contests like other schools?
We are not competing at WGI this year. I could see us, well, as it stands right now, we're not doing WGI. I could see us in the future doing WGI, but not this year.
Okay. There's another question that says, what about graduation? And I believe that to mean there are guard camp and percussion camp dates on the projected July 23rd graduation date. So I think that's what that question means.
Yeah, that's a really good question. The first thing I will say to that is that our camp dates were scheduled before we even had a contingency plan for graduation. And as far as I know, as of right now, we do not have a schedule for that graduation. But no one is going to, like, for example, if you're at graduation, no one's going to be counted absent, or they're not going to be punished for missing that, to go see their brother graduate or something like that. That's not going to be an issue. We do not yet know what the band's involvement in graduation will be, if anything. That subject has not even come up, so we don't know what that would look like at all. But I hope that answers the question that you're asking, and if it doesn't, just again, send me an email or you can clarify the question and we'll try and answer it.
Okay, the third question that I have, which I think somebody has seconded, is, does that mean my student that plays French horn will have a double instrument fee since they're playing French horn in the fall, or they're playing mellophone in the fall and French horn in the concert band?
That is a wonderful question. And the answer is no. That does not mean that your French horn player will have a double instrument fee. So yes, your child will be issued 2 instruments. If your child plays French horn, they will get a mellophone for the fall, and they will get a French horn for concert band, but they will pay 1 instrument rental fee. Great question.
Okay, I have one that says, will the band be traveling outside of Texas anytime this year or in the coming years?
All right, great question. So not this year. At least it's not in the plans for right now. In the coming years, it is certainly possible. We have tried in recent years to start planning for a band trip that's not a required everybody has to go on a kind of trip, but a band trip at the end of the year, and been stymied a little bit in our planning, most recently by the current pandemic, which has made the planning of any travel very difficult right now. But certainly we are looking at that, and definitely would like to be doing that soon. But no plans this year. Here's one from Kiwi Stalls. Is the trip to Waco overnight? First of all, Kiwi, I have to say I love that profile pic. That is my favorite profile pic that I've seen today. And we don't know that yet. And the reason we don't know that yet is we don't know what our schedule is. BOA, I don't know what their timeline is for releasing the preliminary competition schedule, but that has not been released yet, and we won't know until we know that. So, for example, if we are performing in prelims at 7:30 in the morning in Waco, it may be necessary for us to go down on Friday night and stay over and then perform early in the morning, but we don't know that yet. Okay, I have another question here. When will they be getting their instruments? Last year he didn't have one all summer and had no way to practice. Is that going to be the case again? First of all, I don't know the answer to that question yet, and again, that has to do really with the coronavirus more than anything else. Our plan right now is for our kids who are not returning or are graduating, will be turning in their instruments at the end of May, but we have to make sure that those instruments get cleaned. I think that is in the best interest of everybody involved, that we make sure that those instruments are clean to avoid any possible incidents of transmission. And so it depends on how many people are returning, which is a number we don't know yet, and how many instruments we have that are available to give out. We will give out as many as we can over the summer. And our goal will be to get them out as soon as possible, but we don't have the specifics on that yet.
Okay, when will the new show be released?
When will the new show be released? That is a great question. Our goal is in about 2 weeks. Our goal is to be releasing that to you in about 2 weeks. And we feel pretty confident that we're going to be able to do that, but that is our goal.
Okay, Mr. Miller, can you send out a supplies list for percussion?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, that is also in the band handbook. Mr. Miller may want to make some changes to that. I'll let him speak to that, but I believe there is a list of supplies for percussion that is in that band handbook.
I'll get one out too. There's one in there, and I'll get one out to everybody.
Okay, will there be evening practices during the fall?
Great question, Christy. Thank you for that. So I actually meant to put a slide in this presentation for our regular weekly during the school week or during the school year rehearsal schedule, and then forgot to do that. So our normal rehearsal schedule will be to rehearse Monday evening, no rehearsal Tuesday, and then rehearse Wednesday, Thursday, Friday morning. So that would be 6 to 9 on Mondays, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Mondays, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday mornings from 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. And then school starts at 9:05. That would be our normal schedule. This is a great question from Michelle Green. Are y'all going to do a fun reveal?
This is a kindergarten mom.
It is. Michelle, all I have to say to that is, you know me, and I'm just not fun.
I'm going to do interpretive dance.
Molly's going to do it?
Interpretive dance to reveal the show.
Yes. We're just going to talk about it, and we're going to let Molly do interpretive dance. No, actually, my goal that I'm trying to pull off is going to be a little more fun than usual, but we those plans are not finalized yet. I love this comment. A bird's eye view part 2 is looking great. You just reuse the props, reuse the costumes. I understand that impulse for sure. Here's a great question. Always Ava, I have a school-owned instrument. Will I be receiving one from CT, or do I keep the one I have? Now, I don't know what middle school you go to, but you will be returning the school-owned instrument that you currently have to your middle school, and then you'll get another one from Chisholm Trail. It's just much easier for us to keep track of the inventory that way. They have their own separate inventory, and we have our own separate set of instruments. Great question. This is not an incoming freshman, but yes, more information to come. Keep May 15th on your calendar. Here's a question for Miss Rivers. Will you put
depends on what fruit you have. If it's pears, no.
Great question. All right, more questions. What other questions do you guys have? Questions about schedules, questions about registration or fees or auditions? We want to answer as many questions as we can. Are we, oh boy, yes.
No, Kiwi, I will not do the dance.
I'm not seeing any new questions rolling in. Here we go. Christina Ramirez asks, if we own an instrument, that's the one we will be using. Well, that really depends on which instrument you play. So for example, if you play the flute, then yes, certainly that instrument will be the instrument you will be using. In most cases, that's the kind of thing that we're talking about. It would not be an instrument that we own. In some cases, we do have some students that own their own tenor saxophone, and the tenor saxophone is an instrument that we do typically have for students to play. That's a school-owned instrument. But you know, if you have your own tenor saxophone and you want to use it, then you certainly can. I see a question here. There's 2 parts for trombone. Which do I play? I'm guessing this is a question about auditions. If you look at the audition information page, that should be the first page of that PDF file you got for auditions. It should tell you pretty specifically which trombone part to play, depending on which band you're shooting for and which piece it is that you're playing. So if you'll look at that, you should be able to get that answer. Christy Swaim asks, when will we know what band they make? Our goal is to get that information out by the 22nd of May. We've asked for our audition submissions by May 15th, and we suspect that there will be a few issues with kids with technology. We're trying to be patient with everyone as they get those things in. And so by May 22nd, we should be able to let everybody know what band they made.
Okay, there's one for Mr. Miller. Is there a fee for percussion instruments?
Mr. Doyle, what did we end up deciding on the percussion?
Percussionists will pay the same instrument fee that everyone else that it pays that is a school-owned instrument that uses a school-owned instrument pays, and that is to help provide for the upkeep of those instruments, required maintenance that has to be done regardless of whether there's any damage to an instrument or not. It's just they have to be regularly maintained, and so it's $50 for the year for all school-owned instruments.
Okay, where will the deposits get paid in the interim since treasurer is changing from parish?
I'm going to bring Melissa in for that question.
Hi, guys. Our current treasurer will stay on until our physical year ends, which is actually the end of July. So she will stay on. Our new treasurer will work beside Parrish and kind of learn the ropes.
Great question.
Okay, I've got one for Molly. That's when are we going to have rifle tryouts?
You can send me a remind message or email me about that, and I will give you an answer. I need to see your skills first, Emily.
You're talking to me?
No, Emily Game.
Oh, okay. All right. Will the additional color guard fees be at the color guard camp?
What do you mean?
Yes, they will pay those at the color guard camp. That won't be in registration. That's not included in the registration. I think that's the question.
Additional color guard fee?
You guys have a fee for your color guard camp.
Oh, okay.
That will not be included in color guard registration.
I'm glad you understood that. Thank you.
Here is a question from Amanda Zarbach. What are the chances that a freshman will be able to march on the field? We have many freshmen marching on the field every single year. There's never a year that we don't have freshmen marching on the field, a significant number. In fact, I would say I would feel fairly confident in saying that the majority of freshmen will end up being in the show. I think that happens virtually every year. This is not a question, but I'm going to throw it up there from the Wilkie Badger Band. Thank you. All parents should join the band booster. An amazing group to be a part of. I totally agree, Wilkie Badger Band. Thank you guys for being here.
Mm-hmm. When are the fees due? I'm looking at one that says, when are the fees due?
Right. So
go ahead.
Sorry, the deposit, once we get that registration form online, you can fill that out and make your deposit, when you are at your convenience, but we do ask that you do that by May 15th. That is our initial deadline for the deposit. And then you can set up, if you want to pay monthly, you set that up at that time to pay monthly until the end of marching season. Here's a great question. What does a typical summer band day look like? Hot. It looks very hot. Yeah, so that's a great question. And a typical day looks like 4 hours outside and 4 hours inside with a lunch break in between. That is a pretty normal summer band day. So it is very important that you make sure that your child has appropriate clothes for being outside, sunscreen, a hat, sunglasses, water. Those things are very important because we will be spending time outside, significant time outside every day of summer band. The only time during summer band that we would not be outside is in the case of some kind of bad weather event, or if the heat is so much that it goes past our district guidelines for heat and the heat index. All of the band directors we get alerts to our phone when we reach certain heat and heat index thresholds. And when we get to a certain point where we can't be outside anymore, we go inside. That hardly ever happens in the mornings during summer band. That's much more likely if we were to be outside, say, at the beginning of the school year when those evening rehearsals start at 6 p.m. Sometimes it is too hot for us to be outside, in which case we start rehearsal inside and go outside when it cools off.
Okay, here's a pretty good one. Will we be able to go back and watch this video? I wasn't able to join at the beginning.
Yes. We will be able to go back and watch this video. Yes, you absolutely will. So on both Facebook and YouTube, regardless of which platform you joined on, the video should be able to be viewed in its entirety when this live stream is over. Good question. Will they be getting a lot of water breaks? Yes. Yes.
Do you practice in the rain? That's what I'm looking at.
Do you practice in the rain? It depends on what kind of rain we're talking about. if it's sprinkling, then yeah, we're going to practice in the rain. And sometimes certain parts of the percussion section will go inside if it's raining even a little bit. We do have some electronics that can't really get wet, and so they'll just go inside if it's raining. But for the most part, we will practice in the rain. That same system that sends us the alerts if the heat index gets to a certain point also sends us alerts if there is lightning in the area. So if there's lightning in the area, we just pack it up immediately and go inside. But if it's just rain, we probably will be rehearsing.
Okay, that's a good one. Yes, my child also plays a sport. Is there a specified uniform they will need to have to wear during the marching show?
I'm not sure I understand your question, Mrs. Bermea. Is your child... Maybe I'll come back to this. I'll give you a chance to clarify. Is your child playing varsity football? Because that's the only, or are they playing volleyball? Is that the issue? Sometimes we have people who are playing volleyball, and so at football games, we have volleyball games on Friday nights as well as football games on Friday nights. Volleyball, I see. Thank you. So yeah, honestly, if your kid is in volleyball and they're coming from volleyball to come and perform at the band at halftime, I don't care what they're wearing. They just, if it's a time issue and they just have enough time to make it there and perform at the band, they can perform in their volleyball uniform. We've had students do that many times, and it's not an issue at all. We understand that there are people participating in multiple activities, and we support that. I do want to say something about that because I have taught at Chisholm Trail since the school opened, and one thing that I'm very proud of is that we've always had very good understanding with our coaches and allowing students to participate in multiple activities and not making them choose. Now, sometimes kids sometimes do choose, and that's fine. But we're not, telling a kid in 9th grade, you have to choose between being in volleyball or being in band. You can certainly do both, and we've had many kids do that very thing. What if it's varsity football? Okay, that's a great question. First of all, if your child is in varsity football as a freshman, that's very impressive, and good for your child. If you're talking about for the future, we've dealt with that issue a couple of times, and we had a kid 2 years ago who was a starter on the defensive line and also played trombone and marching band, and we made it work. We make it work. We as directors and coaches work out the practice schedule, and we essentially split the conflicting times. So, for example, if there are 2 morning practices that conflict, then they'll go to football for one and go to band for the other. Same for volleyball. With our current rehearsal schedule, we have the fewest conflicts with athletic activities that we've ever had. Mm-hmm. So that's actually gone down quite a lot. Jennifer Kirsten asks, is this a state year? Yes, it is. And for those who don't know what that means, in UIL marching band, the state marching contest is only held every other year, depending on what classification you are in. So this year, 2020, is a state year for classifications 2A, 4A, and 6A. So it is a state year for us. And next year, 2021, will not be a state year. That just means that there's that one more level of competition that we would be able to go to this year if we are that successful. But it's only every other year that we can have that opportunity. You have any other questions out here? This is a really good one. It's not a question again, and that is that's quite a username. But not a question, but make sure to bring a ton of water. That's absolutely true. When we ask you to bring water for summer band, it's not like a 20-ounce bottle of water. You got to bring a jug. It's got to be a significant amount of water. Other questions? Any question you have, please let us know.
Mr. Dole, that's something parents can go ahead and purchase is a 1/2 gallon Igloo water jug, because the students will buy their own water jug, and then we have a neoprene sleeve that slips over the water jug. So it covers all except for the top. So it doesn't really matter what color the Igloo cooler is. We just like for the top to be black or white. The bottom can be purple. If you can find a purple one, those are hard to find sometimes. Black. If you want to get red or blue, you can.
Yeah, that's 1/2 gallon, correct?
Yes. Yes, they're 1/2 gallon size.
Great. Here's a question from Courtney Danley. When does summer band start? So Courtney, I think you are the one that said that you weren't here at the beginning, but there is a PowerPoint presentation that shows those questions. But I'll let you know that if your kid's not in percussion and they're not in color guard, the first required date for summer band is July 30th, and there's a more full schedule earlier in this video. Zeta McGinney asks, are there any fun field trips planned? First of all, hi Zeta. I got to teach Zeta beginning percussion a few years ago. Welcome. I'm a little surprised that you're already in high school. That's exciting. Are there any fun field trips planned? You will travel a lot with marching band. I don't know that there's anything that we would actually call field trip. We don't necessarily use that language. You will travel a lot with marching band. There are five away games, and then all the marching contests that I put on that schedule earlier. And since you're in percussion, Zeta, you have 2 more drumline contests on top of that. So yes, we will travel a lot, and they will be fun. In fact, it's required. You have to have fun, Zeta. You have to. Looks like I have some new questions. So the Mrs. Danley, the PowerPoint presentation will also be, I will post it in the comments in both Facebook and YouTube on these platforms. So you don't have to go searching for an email somewhere. I'll make a PDF of the presentation available in that format. So a question from Mr. Fernando Rojas. Are there any scholarships available? I'm assuming this question is about band fees, but I'm not quite sure. So Mr. Rojas, if you could clarify that question is about, then I'll answer that. Meanwhile, I'm going to go to a couple other questions and I'll come back to you. Mrs. Stearman, there's a question for you. Do we have new merch for the 2020-2021 school year?
Currently, we are using the same required uniform pieces that we've used last year. So if your student is returning, there's not anything new. If you have a new student or a new freshman coming in, those will be new pieces. That's going to be part of the online registration. There'll be some pictures to help clarify some things. We are having to make sure that we can still get our purple pep rally shorts. So these are shorts that we purchased that has the CT logo on it. Some of them were discontinued last year. So I have a vendor that's looking to see if we can still get those in purple. So that's the only item that we may have to switch out, but it won't change the cost or anything. It may just have to change to black or a slightly different shade.
Great. Aiden St. John asks, do you recommend a trigger trombone? And the answer to that is yes. Certainly, I recommend that you, as you move into high school, you are going to be much happier playing on a trigger trombone and be able to make much better sounds typically on that instrument. And if you have any questions about recommendations for specific instruments, we can help you out with that as well if you'll send me an email and we can talk about that. Mr. Rojas says yes. So Mr. Rojas, if you will just send me an email, we can talk about that, and I will see what we can do if I can find out more about your situation. Okay. This is Julie Solorzano is actually our clarinet section leader, and she asks, "What would I need for summer band?" And there's more information that I will send out as we get closer to this. But the things that I mentioned earlier are, you're going to need water, lots of water, so much water, very important. Sunscreen, a hat, sunglasses. Kids always laugh when I say a hat and sunglasses, but you will be so much happier with a hat and sunglasses. Fashion is not the most important thing when it comes to summer band. No one is going to be fashionable. And most importantly, and kids, I want you to hear me, you will all smell bad. Okay? It's just true. All right? We will smell bad. You will smell bad. And it's going to be okay. There'll be 200 of us smelling bad, and we're all going to love each other anyway. But fashion's not important. Just you need the hat and the sunglasses to keep your to keep the sun out of your eyes, to keep your head cooler. It's just you're going to be a lot happier at the end of the day if you do that. And also, in addition to that, really what you're going to need for summer band is your instrument, and we will have a flip folder with some music in it, and we'll give you the show music as well. And that's really all you're going to need for summer band.
Mr. Doyle, can I add one thing to that? There
Yep.
is one piece that is very important that as a parent-to-parent tip. It is called a dot book. And if you live in Saginaw, you will run around like a crazy parent trying to find said dot book. What is that? It is index cards on a spiral ring. Run, go to Amazon, go ahead and get one because it will save you your sanity. So all it is a spiral notebook. Index cards, 3x5 index cards on a spiral ring. Just go ahead and get that now. That and the water jug holder.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really good point. Also, if you can, we use sidewalk chalk to mark dots on what we call the grid, our marching field. And so if you can just go out and buy like one of those sets of like 24 pieces of sidewalk chalk, that's going to be really helpful because your child will go through a lot of it during the year. Angler Echo asks, will we get extreme sunburns? No, you won't, because you're going to wear sunscreen. Okay. If you don't wear sunscreen, you probably will get very, very sunburned. If you're anything like me, I am very pale and I will get a whole lot of sunburn if I don't put on a whole lot of sunscreen. And so we highly encourage sunscreen and reapply. Don't just put it on once in the morning before you leave the house and think you're good for the day. Here's another great question. What if we made Charmers? Will my schedule be different and complicated? Will it be different? A little bit. Will it be complicated? Probably not as complicated as you think. We've made it work. Virtually every year that the school has been open, we've had at least 1 or 2 students who are in both the Ranger Regiment and in the Charmers. And again, we make it work. It's the same thing. We, whether your kid is in tennis or your kid is in volleyball, your kid's in football, your kid is in Charmers, we make it work. I will talk to Mrs. Denman, your Charmer director, and we will work out a schedule and so that you know exactly when you're going to be at band practice and exactly when you'll be at Charmers practice, and you'll make it work. I'm seeing a lot of questions from current members that are really not relevant. So if you are already an existing member and you're trying to ask questions, let's try and keep it relevant, please. Oh, sunscreen feels weird. Yeah, well, yeah. Sunscreen does feel weird, but it feels better than a sunburn. So, yeah.
Mr. Doyle, there's a fanny pack question, and that actually is relevant for the color guard.
Yeah, more than just for the color guard. I did see that one. Do Ranger Regiment members actually wear fanny packs? Some of them do, yes, and they can be very, very helpful because you can put a dot book in there and your chalk and a pencil, and you're super prepared for rehearsal. Again, fashion is not the most important thing. We're out there trying to do a job. But
we do ask the color guard to get fanny packs just because we need something that they don't have to use their hands with, and something that straps around them that's not around their neck because they're spinning and it will fly around. So we do have the color guard by fanny packs.
Yeah, I wanted to put this comment up there. This is from Mrs. Clark, assistant director at Marine Creek Middle School. They are more expensive, but I love the dot books from JJ Visual Design, and you can go to marching.book.com and check those out yourself and get yourself a nice dot book there. Christy Swaim asks, is there a specific brand or type for the 1/2 gallon jug? Melissa?
No, it'll fit most half-gallon jugs. Don't go crazy expensive, but it's neoprene, so it'll stretch a little bit. Yep.
Great question. All right. I think we are going to wrap it up here. Again, if you have further questions, you can always email us. And again, if you go back to the very beginning of the presentation, again, I'm going to put a PDF of that in the comments here and YouTube and on Facebook. And you'll find our email addresses, and you can email us and ask any questions that come up after this. So just a quick review. Again, I want to thank everyone for being here. And I want to say, keep an eye out for communication about the registration. I'll send out a link through Facebook, through Remind, through Twitter, and through email when that registration is live. And then auditions are due on May 15th. Also, the registration form is due May 15th as well. So that's a pretty important day. That's 2 weeks from tomorrow. And we really appreciate all of you guys being here. I know this is not how we like to do this. We like to see your faces and get to meet you face to face, but we're hopeful that we'll be able to do that soon. So again, thank you guys for being here. And until we get to see you face to face, we will say goodbye.